Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we are going to discuss convergence. This lecture is part of your paper News and Society. Convergence is a term used by various disciplines to describe the coming together or merging of two or more things. Media convergence is an important aspect of the digital media revolution and can be described in many ways. The term has come to mean a variety of things depending on the application, context, as well as time. In news production, it could mean convergence of print, broadcast, and radio on a single multimedia website. You could see as its example by going through any news media website today. The term could also be used to talk about user-generated content on social media, which also blurs the boundary between the producer and the consumer. A fan fiction made by a user on social media website could also be an example of this. Sometimes it also refers to the convergence of technology, which allows us to access previously distinct forms of media, text and video and audio recordings on one single platform, or the convergence of devices where previously distinct devices such as the camera, calculator, GPS and phone are all converged in the smartphone devices. The term is also popular with the people in the tech business and media companies, while business heads use the term to describe their strategies, which talks about making their products available on a single platform. For example, a single OS that can be used across different platforms. Whereas media companies can refer the term to talk about mergers of two media organizations to cross-promote products and share resources. For example, the merger between American communications conglomerate AT&T and cable television company Time Warner, or daily newspaper Dainik Jagran's early partnership with Yahoo. Tracing the origins of convergence and media convergence. According to Rich Gordon, a professor at the Northwestern University, the origin of the term convergence can be traced back to the field of sciences in the 19th century, when it was used to describe wind currents, non-parallel lines, evolutionary biology, and mathematical series. Soon, the term was being applied to political sciences. By mid-20th century, it was used to describe the merging of economies and political systems. Following the developments in the computer sciences in the 1960s and the 1970s and the subsequent revolutions in digital communication technology, the term became very popular in the media and communications field. Though, according to Gordon, it is still unclear to who coined the usage of this term. The term was popularized by a scholar, Ithiel de Sola Pool, who has written on technology and social sciences in his book Technologies of Freedom. In the book, Pool talked about the convergence of modes. He says, the explanation for the current convergence between historically separated modes of communication lies in the ability of digital electronics, conversation, theatre, news, and text are all increasingly delivered electronically. Electronic technology is bringing all modes of communications into one grand system. The term was also used by Nicholas Negroponte, founder of the MIT Media Lab, to describe shifts occurring in the media landscape owing to digital advancements and make a case for the founding of the MIT Media Lab in 1985. Technology giants like Apple and Microsoft used the idea of convergence to describe business strategy that involved combining their products and platforms, and towards the end of the 20th century, the term gained popularity within the news media industry since it talked about bringing together functionalities of print, broadcast, and web journalism to reflect the changing media environment and consumer preferences. But convergence did not just occur at the technological level, but also as a cultural, political, and economical level. An American media scholar, Henry Jenkins, in his 2001 book Convergence Culture, Where Old and New Media Collide, moved the emphasis away from technology and focuses on the social, cultural, and global aspects of convergence. He defines convergence as a process occurring at various intersections of media technologies, industries, content, and audiences, which has to be looked at in terms of technological, cultural, and economical changes within the society. Now, let us take a look at the different models of convergence. Media scholars have theorized different models of convergence. One of them can be illustrated by Negroponte's circles, which you will see in your screens. Nicholas Negroponte, an architect and founder chairman of MIT Media Lab, used three overlapping circles. First, broadcast and motion picture industry. Second, computer industry. And third, print and publication industry, to illustrate changes occurring in the media industry. He predicted that three industries would converge as a result of advancements in the digital technologies, and that by the year 2000, the three circles would almost completely overlap. This model is essentially the definition of digitization, as what Negroponte is referring to is technological convergence. For the fact that text, numbers, images, sound, and video can be encoded stored and shared as zeros and ones, the language that is the language of computers. Negroponte's model is a very good starting point when talking about media convergence. Now, another model of convergence, the convergence continuum, was created by Larry Daly, Laurie Demo, and Mary Spillman in an attempt to create a behavior-based definition of convergence and a framework to measure the effects of convergence in the newsroom. This model consists of 5 partially overlapping areas and defines convergence as a series of activities. First is cross promotion of media between partners. Second, cloning or the republishing of content across various channels. Third, cooperation or the sharing of material between competing but cooperating partners. Fourth, content sharing or exchange of material between partners for publishing in their respective channels. This mode of operation allows a media organization to build on the strengths of different media channels and follow a medium-specific delivery of the content. This model was developed to observe convergence in the newsroom. It is, however, much less relevant to other types of convergence processes. Another important conceptual model describing convergence is the Lawson-Borders Model of Convergence. This model is built on the premise that convergence is a concept as well as a process. It is the merging of technology and content delivery through computers. The model represents a two-way communication system between them. According to this model, there are several observations of convergence: communication, commitment, cooperation, compensation, culture, competition, and lastly, the customer. However, the model does not focus on the consumer or the market, therefore making it only a partial representation of the concept of convergence as we understand it today. Jenkins' classification of convergence. Now let us look at how Jenkins classified convergence. While these models that we discussed attempt to arrive at a framework to assess convergence, the flexibility of the term and its usage has rendered them either incomplete or rather irrelevant in many contexts. Media scholar Henry Jenkins, on the other hand, analyzes convergence by recognizing that there are different types of convergence. Jenkins classifies convergence into 5 different processes. First is technological convergence. It draws from Negroponte's definition of convergence. Technological convergence refers to the digitization of all media content. Images, text, words, and sounds, previously distinct forms of media, can now be expressed in the form of digital information. It enables the information to flow across different software platforms, thus enhancing the relationship between them. Second is cultural convergence. With average people having the tools to create, appropriate, curate, archive, and recirculate content, there is a blurring of boundaries between producers and consumers of culture. Such a convergence fosters a participatory culture which encourages the development and distribution of content across multiple platforms. While participatory culture democratizes media production, corporations exploit this culture to engage customers in marketing efforts and therefore in generating low cost content. The next type is economic convergence. It talks about horizontal integration and partnerships within the entertainment industry. Given the integrated nature of the current media environment, one large company like Sony Corporations worldwide or Bennett and Coleman Group in India or any other would control variety of industries, that is film, television, music, video games and consumer electronics, and therefore it can engage in transmedia exploitation of their branded properties. Here, brands like Harry Potter, Avengers, Angry Birds are exploited across a variety of different media, including film, television, as well as video games. Another type is global convergence. The international circulation of media content and transcontinental exchange of information and ideas have resulted in a cultural hybridity across different media. As media consumers, we are far more informed about trends in other markets or countries or culture. And nowadays, even media producers themselves are increasingly influenced by cultures foreign to them. Last type is organic convergence. As consumers, we develop strategies to navigate the new information environment, which leads to convergence of our own consumption habits. We are capable of multitasking, watching a football game on television while following a thread of conversation on Twitter while simultaneously texting a friend. Now let us try and summarize what we discussed. To conclude, let me repeat that convergence is a term used by various disciplines to describe the coming together or merging of two or more things. It can be used to talk about the coming together of different media, the blurring of boundaries between consumers and producers of media, the convergence of technological functions onto a single device, or even the merging together of different business organizations or industries. While the term was used to describe phenomena in science and mathematics, as early as the 19th century. It was used in the context of computers and media technology by Ithiel de Sola Pool in 1983 and was later popularized by Nicholas Negroponte when he founded the MIT Media Lab in 1985. Convergence can be observed with the help of many frameworks. Negroponte's model of convergence, which he illustrated with the use of three overlapping circles, essentially referred to the digitization of the broadcast, motion picture, publishing, and press industries. While early descriptions of convergence focused on the technological aspect, the changes brought about by Web 2.0 technologies led to convergence in cultural, social, and global aspects. Henry Jenkins classifies convergence into 5 different areas. They are technological, cultural, economical, global, and organic. Each of these areas represents separate but symbiotic processes that work together in an increasingly convergent ecosystem. We hope that this lecture helped you in understanding convergence. Do attempt the question in the self-evaluate quadrant. For further reading suggestions, please refer to the third quadrant. Thank you.